My name is Dan Frankenfeld, and I am a leader. Ah, yes, the stereotypical leader, a privileged white male. As a captain of a sports team, president of multiple student orgs, and active participant in a variety of other activities, Dan Frankenfeld is indeed a leader. But this begs the question, what is a leader? And how do we measure or identify leadership? In high school, I was involved in a variety of activities, but my first specific leadership role was working in music, specifically winter drumline, where I learned how to lead by example and motivate others. I was involved in other activities that involved leadership, but not of the formal type. In my first job, I was promoted to lead a line of tellers, which taught me about responsibility and taking initiative. Lastly, at St. Olaf, my first formal leadership role taught me about failure and vulnerability. As a sophomore, it's difficult to have over 30 of your peers vote to impeach you from student government, effectively saying that you don't deserve to be a part of that community. I've learned more about leadership and life in general from that experience than almost anything else. This past year, I've actually stepped down from several leadership positions and taken 2 independent studies, one in political science and mission and vocational leadership, and one in management studies, which was contemporary management and leadership literature. Something that I've learned, among the many things that I have, is that the truly essential and extremely nuanced concept of followership is critical to understanding leadership. But a little more on that later. In our class, when we reflect on the BSG, I don't think about maximizing profits and how to win the simulation. Actually, I think if our ultimate goal is to win the simulation, then we will have lost. Not simply losing as in losing the game, but literally being lost, that is, unable to find one's way, or not knowing one's whereabouts. In particular, it has been frustrating to reflect on the influence of investor expectations. The emphasis on earnings per share, return on investment, net profit, etc. It's unfortunate because it demonstrates how willing we are to sacrifice our ethics and responsibilities as citizens in order to meet those investor expectations. We saw it immediately in the first few rounds when almost every company abandoned North American plants. How many of us have been critical of companies in America that outsource American jobs because it's cheaper? Or how would you like to be a person working in that company? Part of me hopes that it's because we aren't taking the simulation seriously. But the other part of me is concerned for that exact same reason. If our job right now is to be a student, and we are willing to compromise so quickly, what does that say about when our job is to be a CEO or be in a position of power when we have the authority to make those decisions? We could argue about the relative responsibility disparity between a student and a CEO, but I'm inclined to think you won't ever become a CEO unless you value, invest, and commit to whatever your job is, in the same way that we should value, invest, and commit to being students. So, as far as my personal vision and leadership skills are concerned, I have a 4-part process for leadership called the 4 R's of leadership: reciprocity, risk, resilience, and reflection. 2 can be thought of as core competencies, that would be risk and resilience, and 2 can be thought of as a sustainable competitive advantage, that would be reciprocity and reflection. So, to elaborate, we can learn a lot about leadership by asking 2 or 3 simple questions. Why do you want to lead someone or a group? Because you're a natural leader, you can do a good job, or a social norm suggests that someone like myself, a white privileged male, should aspire to positions of leadership. A second question: why do you want to follow someone? Because they are inspiring, they care about your thoughts, ideas, and contributions, or they put the group or its members above themselves? Put another way, why should anyone be led by you? I think oftentimes we forget that the most essential and fundamental concept of leadership is that it requires, by definition, followers. In that case, a good leader might be able to envision, articulate, or combine, or even represent the ideas of followers in order to best steward the relationship of leader and follower. The second R of leadership is risk. To me, risk is another essential component of leadership. If you want to affect change, you have to be willing to take risks, thinking creatively and challenging preconceived notions or assumptions about social norms. Put another way, the greatest risk is actually to not take risks, because then you risk becoming stagnant, you risk failing to inspire followers, and you risk living life without trying new things and not being able to recognize and respond to failure. So the third R of leadership in response to failure is resilience. So if we choose to take risks, some of those will inevitably fail, which is why resilience is so important. To me, resilience means not only the ability to recover from adversity, but the ability and the inclination or predisposition to learn from it as well, which ties directly to the last R, reflection. Knowing how and why you fail is just as important as knowing how and why you succeed. In that vein, reflection is necessary in order to learn. Moreover, reflection is not just about learning surface truths like we failed because we didn't communicate and follow up on projects. It's a deeper process that involves self-knowledge. For example, we failed because our meetings always ran late, which made me visibly frustrated, which made group members uncomfortable voicing disagreements, which eliminated productive and constructive tension in the team, which resulted in less candid and friendly conversation, which removed the trust that we had in each other, and that's what we failed to communicate, which is half of the picture. So, all things said and taken into consideration, I think the best and the most honorable way to live, and the leader I will be, is a servant leader. In the words of Robert Greenleaf, we should be servants first, and then be inspired to lead.